The clogger ripped off Inigo's shirt, examined the bleeding man. There were minor sword wounds near each shoulder, but they were nothing. The stomach drew his attention. A 3-sided Florinese dagger, he said to Pierre, then turned to Fezzik. When? A few hours ago, Fezzik answered, while we were storming the castle. I can clog him, the clogger said, but he will have little use for this. He indicated the 6-fingered sword still clutched in Inigo's right hand. Not for a very long time. And with that he scurried off, returned in a moment with flour and tomato puree, mixed them expertly, began filling the wound. He looked at Pierre then, nodded in the direction of Wesley. Want me to work on him? This is not a matter of blood. Listen. He pounded on Wesley's chest, listened to the awful empty sound. His life has been sucked away. It happened this afternoon, Fezzik said carefully, trying not to upset Buttercup any more. If you were in town, you probably heard his death scream. That was him, Pierre cried out. They did that to my master? Where was this? At the bottom of the Zoo of Death, Fezzik indicated Inigo. We found him there. Pierre studied Wesley a moment longer before he sagged. He must have been tortured beyond human endurance. He shook his head. If only I'd been with you. I would have known what to do. I would have rushed him to Miracle Max. Fezzik started bouncing up and down. But that's what we did. We went straight there, for a resurrection pill. Energy began to flow back into Pierre's body. If Max worked on him, then we have hope. We have more than hope, Buttercup said. There is true love. Princess, Pierre said, you work your side of the street and I'll work mine. He looked at Fezzik, thinking. Then this question, did Max tell you how dead he was? Sort of, but then he slipped to mostly. Pierre nodded. Mostly is not ideal, but I can work around that. Was it a new resurrection pill, not an old one Max had hanging around? Made fresh today. I had to gather the Holocaust mud, Fezzik said. Pierre was getting excited now. His eyes blazed at Fezzik. Last and most important question. Did Valerie have time to do the chocolate coating? She let me lick the pot, Fezzik said, happy because he knew he was giving the right answer. It was delicious. Which fit the original prologue, but the time away from the story seems to have changed Goldman. Ah. Yeah, so the ending note fit the original prologue, is what you're saying, right? But then when he came back to add all this other stuff, yeah, I feel like that's, in a way, I think that's a writer's hope, right? It, like, if you go away from a project and then you come back to it, the hope is that you've grown as a writer and you've changed and you're in a new place in life. So even though you're trying to like keep the same sort of vibe with your writing, I think there's always going to be that little bit of difference. I would think. And I see that a little bit with my writing, because I started writing something when I was in high school, and then I kind of walked away from it, and now I've been sort of trying to get back into it, and it's really difficult because I'm not the same person. Basically I was more or less a child there, but trying to write things that were more adult. And now I feel like I have more of a mature perspective, but I'm also trying to stay true to like the teenager in me, and try to kind of keep things as I would have wanted them to be written when I was younger, if that makes any sense. So I kind of feel like a little bit of trying to keep the tone with your new perspective. Yeah. And also because the tone that I was trying to go for was more adult, but like for things that I had no perspective on. I was trying to write stories about like being in relationships, and I hadn't had a relationship yet. And so it was like I was trying to write things based on what I saw in movies or what I saw in books rather than writing things that I knew about personally. And so now I think I have a little bit more of a variety of perspectives that I can bring to it, just because I've lived some of them. So yeah, I sort of feel that, I don't know if solidarity is the right word, but like kind of a connection to Goldman, like coming back to a story. And he does sound a little bit different and maybe has a little bit less cynicism in this part. But it still feels like he's trying to keep the same vibe of the book. I would also have liked a little bit more. Well, we'll see. Maybe Pierre's not that pivotal, but it sounds like Pierre is pivotal right now. I would have liked to see a little bit more of like maybe Wesley earlier in the book talking about Pierre, or just not even like a whole lot, but just being like, the ship is currently being watched over by somebody I trust, or something like that, where we could get that little bit of introduction to him before he actually appears. But he might not have existed in Goldman's mind until years later as he's writing this. So it potentially wouldn't have been possible to put that into the original part of the book, if he hadn't thought about it yet. But I feel like that would have made Pierre feel a little bit more like part of the story, rather than just being like, I need somebody who knows what he's doing, so quick, let's put a person in here. Okay. Little cut here. I already said in the introduction that they went to One Tree Island to get their health back, so there's not a lot of nail-biting tension in the air concerning Wesley's survival at this point. What you're not going to read is a 6-page sequence in which Pierre, and we all care desperately about spending time with him, right? I just said that. It would have required rewriting it, and it seems like Goldman wasn't interested in doing that bit. Yeah, I think he didn't really want to change the original story. He just wanted to add on to the end of it. But I'm glad he sort of like addresses what I just said, because that's cool. What you're not going to read is a 6-page sequence in which Pierre, and we all care desperately about spending time with him, right, does all these wondrous modern Florinese medical things to help Wesley. None of which work, Natch, because at this point in his life, Morgenstern had a hate on for doctors because he had developed gas. And I'm sorry if this is disgusting to you, but I promised King I would research the hell out of it, and I did a lot of legwork before I found that Morgenstern's entire medical record is on view in the museum. But not everyone can see the personal stuff like this. You have to have some kind of scholarly interest to read it. And even then, you can't take it out of the place. I forget where this sentence began, sorry. But anyway, he had gas, couldn't shake it, and gave Pierre this sequence to get his own back. When nothing worked, by the way, Fezzik picked Wesley up and hung him by the feet over the side till his lungs filled with seawater, a famous cure in Turkey. Not for death, but rather gout, which Fezzik's father suffered from. Wesley coughed like crazy, but it got him talking again. Inigo was still unconscious, but had stopped bleeding when Wesley finally opened his eyes. Middle of the night. Buttercup lay alongside him on the deck, while Fezzik watched over them all. Pierre approached, knelt, spoke softly. I have the worst of all news. Worse does not exist, Wesley whispered. He studied Buttercup's face. We are together. Pierre took a breath and then said it. You must leave the ship, and you must do so this night. Before Buttercup could voice her outrage, Wesley put a finger to her lips. Of course, I understand. Humperdinck is after us. His entire armada. We can outrun them for a while, but sooner or later, as long as you are here. We are not in the best of shape for travel, Buttercup said. Give us a few days. My husband is the most powerful man for 1,000 miles. No place on earth is safe from him. Not possible, much as I would like to. The crew would panic, as well they should, and I cannot have them losing faith in me. Wesley nodded. Then he was silent. Then he said Fezzik's name. Fezzik waited. Do you remember the climb up the cliffs of insanity? I don't want to go back there, Fezzik said. I'm afraid of heights. Fezzik, Wesley said patiently. I don't want to live there either. Just answer me this. You were carrying 3 people when you did it. And please think before you answer me. Were you tired? Fezzik waited till he was sure he had it right. Then he said, No. Why weren't you? Our lives depend on this, so please take your time. Fezzik didn't need time. My arms, he said quietly. Wesley looked at him only a moment more. Then he turned to Pierre. We will need chains and a small boat. He paused. Go quickly now. You must get us close to One Tree Island by dawn. I was going to ask if you did this whole book talking like Andre the Giant. I just got my answer. Did I do a good job? Because I've been trying to put a little bit of voice work into it, but not go all out, because I don't want this to become like when speaking as Fezzik. Hopefully I got the vibe of Andre as Fezzik. I was trying not to be do a total impersonation, I guess is what I was going for. We will need chains and a small boat. He paused. Go quickly now. You must get us close to One Tree Island by dawn. The Revenge made spectacular time, full sail and a favoring wind, and soon they were sailing through a remote part of Florence Sea. Before dawn, the small boat was lowered, and the 4, all heavily chained to Fezzik now, got in. Neither Wesley nor Inigo were capable of much movement. Fezzik took the oars, Wesley nodded, and Fezzik began to row. From the bridge, Pierre said, I pray to see you again. Do, Wesley told him. Buttercup cradled him in her lap. That was so sweet of him, she said. He did not seem a man of great religious conviction. This will be his first prayer, and it could not be for a more needy group. Why do you say that? Buttercup asked. Let us just hold each other, Wesley said, while we can. That's fairly ominous of you, don't you think? Fezzik listened, terrified. But he had so many questions he did not know where to begin. So he just rowed, and every so often he smiled down at Inigo, who every so often was able to smile back. They were silent then, the 4, for what seemed a very long time. The night could not have been prettier, the weather balmy, the waves all but non-existent, a sweet, caressing wind. Fezzik rode on, getting into a fine rhythm, his great arms enjoying the outing. He rowed harder for a moment, and of course the tiny boat went faster. Then back to normal pace, and of course the tiny boat slowed. Fezzik enjoyed doing that. It got rid of the monotony. Harder, faster, normal, slower, harder, faster, normal, faster. Fezzik thought. I wonder why that happened. He rowed harder again, and this time the vessel seemed close to flight. And it was then that Fezzik pulled the oars entirely out of the water, and the boat careened on faster than before. Much faster than before. And then in the distance, but approaching quickly, came the roar. And Fezzik said, "Oh, Wesley, I did something wrong. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to zoom like this. I was just sort of breaking the monotony, faster, slower, that kind of thing. I never meant for this to happen." "It is not you," Wesley replied, keeping his voice as steady as he could so as not to make things worse for his comrades. "The whirlpool has us now." Inigo blinked awake on the word. "Fezzik, row around it." "We can't do that," Wesley said then. Buttercup spoke all their thoughts then. "Wesley, my hero and savior, what's the deal here?" "I'll be very brief. Humperdinck's armada is after us. We need to disappear and mend. One Tree Island, from all I've heard, may well be the best spot on Earth for us." "And just what makes it so special?" Buttercup asked, louder now, because the small boat was rocketing now and the roar was growing loud. "I can't be specific because I've never been there," Wesley explained, half shouting, holding tight to the side so as not to be pulled overboard. "No one has ever been there. It is shrouded by mist with just the top of the single tree visible above the clouds. The mist is caused by the whirlpool. The island is surrounded by the whirlpool. And rocks. No boat can sail through. The rocks crush it or the water sucks it down. Now do you see why it is perfect for us? Humperdinck cannot get there, and soon he will lose interest in trying to." "Let me get this straight," Buttercup said. "The entire armada cannot get to the island, but we can?" "That is my belief." "I don't mean to be pushy about this, but I am not keen on being crushed or drowned. Wesley, what in the world do we have that they don't?" "We have Fezzik," Wesley replied simply. "We absolutely do," Fezzik shouted, happy that the answer was so easily forthcoming. "He is right here inside my skin." "But, my darling, what can Fezzik do?" "Why, swim us through the whirlpool, of course." No one answered for a moment, because at that moment the tiny boat began to crack from the pressure of the water, and the roar of the whirlpool began to surround them, which meant it was very close. Wesley checked Buttercup's chains and Inigo's as well as his own, making certain they were securely locked around Fezzik. The boat had little left it could do. It had brought them close, but now ahead the rocks became visible, and Wesley shouted through it all, "Save us, Fezzik, save us or we will die." Now Fezzik, as the world knows, had a terrible case of low self-esteem. So he was all for the theory behind Wesley's words. Saving people. How wonderful. What in all the world could be better than saving people, especially these three with him now? Nothing. So in theory, he should have made ready to dive in. In practice, he just sat in the bottom of the boat and shivered. "Fezzik, now!" Wesley shouted. Fezzik shivered all the worse. "He needs a rhyme," Inigo explained to Wesley. Then to Fezzik. "Fezzik is no zero." Fezzik shivered even more. "Do you want a hint?" Inigo shrieked as the boat began to splinter. Still the shivering. "He's a hero." Did I say? I think I said that wrong. Fezzik is no zero. Did I? I don't know what I said. I feel like I read it wrong. But let me catch up. In fairness, I only just got here, so maybe I didn't hear a proper vibe initially. My apologies. I mean, I'm not going for, there's a bug. I'm not going for like, what is it that comedians do? Impression. I'm not going for an impression. Nefterath the lore keeper. You didn't read it wrong. It's just weirdly worded. Okay. No, I thought that I said hero when I should have said zero because my brain was like jumping ahead. So I think I said it wrong, but I don't know. I'll go back and watch the VOD if I really need to know. But it was a good moment because I was distracted. So I'm going to stop and catch up with everything. 0 to hero, just like that. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm trying to do a little bit of voice work, but not like what did I say? I said the word. Impression. Yeah, impression. I'm because I don't have like a male voice, and so I don't think that I can really like get that like tone exactly. But I do want to have that sort of like the mentality of the character in my mind as I read it out loud. So I'm not trying to go for his deep tone accent, and that's fine. Yeah, and also I want to be respectful because I don't know what I don't want to. I don't have a female voice, but that's never stopped me. Do what feels right, and it'll all be solid. Yeah, I think for me it's more about getting into the mindset of the character, and then the voice kind of follows. Um, and I'm not trying to go for like exactly the way that the actor did it because I'm the only actor who's me, and Andre the Giant is the only actor who's Andre the Giant, and so I'm not gonna ever get to that exactly. Um, I imagine Fezzik has a little bit of unga bunga to him, like do you mean like a bounciness sort of in his vocal qualities? I definitely see him um, childlike, sort of. I can't do a Wallace Shawn impression to save my life. So when we did this one on stream last year, I went with Dr. Doofenshmirtz. Um, Dr. Doofenshmirtz is from. I need a reminder. I know the name. Is it from? It's not from Rocky Horror, right? Little bouncy. Oh, Phineas and Ferb. Okay. Little bouncy and little caveman type deliveries, but he clearly has a dialogue that differs. Okay. Little bouncy and a little caveman. So, like, simplistic, maybe? Um, Triangles, I don't understand that reference. Simplistic. Okay. Yeah, I see him as very innocent, um, fun loving in a younger sort of way, like the liking to rhyme and stuff like that. And the way that he got really excited about the chocolate. What page was that on? Um, so I'm trying to put myself in that mindset, and hopefully my voice will follow what my brain is doing. So we'll see. But yeah, I think I read the wrong rhyme because my brain was anticipating. So I'm just going to go back a little bit. Hi there. Thanks for joining our book club. If you'd like to join the conversation, I would love it if you would leave us a comment. And if you'd like to see more, check out the playlist.